Hi guys, I hope you're having a beautiful day as always. I just filmed an update for our Trying to Conceive journey, and it talked all about our recent infertility specialist appointment. So if you want to see that, that will be posted first. I will try to have it linked somewhere so you can just click on that and watch that if you want to see more information about our family planning moving forward. And our doctor, she's amazing. So this video is actually going to be about our completely unexpected, completely out of nowhere ectopic / pregnancy of unknown location. So I had no idea what this was until this happened to me. I obviously know what an ectopic pregnancy is. Ectopic pregnancy is where you get a pregnancy and it's not in the uterus, like it doesn't implant in the uterus like it should. Typically that means it's implanted in your fallopian tubes, which is bad, bad, bad. If it implants there, your fallopian tube can rupture, you can have internal bleeding, you can lose a fallopian tube, you might lose an ovary, and again, you can have internal bleeding, like it can kill you. So it's really dangerous. So long story short, I unexpectedly, 6 weeks ago, almost 7 weeks ago, anyway, it was May 31st. So I unexpectedly had some bleeding for a couple days before, and it was really odd because it was in the middle of my cycle. Like it was at a point where I should be ovulating, but Eric and I were kind of on a break anyway, so I wasn't really paying attention to a lot of stuff, but I had bleeding for like 2 days, 3 days, and it was odd. So I took an ovulation test and it came up positive. But I know that ovulation tests can come up positive if you're pregnant. So your pregnancy hormones can also make an ovulation test positive. I know this because I tested this theory because I'd heard of it when I was pregnant in October and we lost our pregnancy. So yeah, that came up positive and my gut just told me take a pregnancy test. And again, it was at a really weird spot in my cycle. 2 weeks before that I had a normal period. And I had taken a pregnancy test on the day that my period had started, like before it started, because I was like, is this happening? We weren't really stopping, we weren't really trying, you know, whatever. It just was. I'd taken a pregnancy test and it was negative. So we weren't on medication or anything at this point. I was on just like a mental break. We weren't really trying. So it was negative. I had a normal 3-day period. Boom. 2 weeks later, I have random bleeding in the middle of my cycle. Take a pregnancy test, and it turns up positive. Let me go get them. Here we go. So I took just these are like the Walmart cheapy ones, 531. Boom. See the positive line right there? So that's the control line, and that's the test line. And I was like, what is happening? So I was on cycle day, I think it was cycle day 16 or something at that point. So I was like, I don't believe this. I had a digital test. I took a digital test and it was 5/31/19. Boom, pregnant. Came up super quick. And I was like, what is happening? I bawled my eyes out because I'm freaked out. So the next day, on the 1st, I take another one, and you can see the faint test line right there. Didn't really get darker. On the 2nd, I took that one again. Not really much darker. The 3rd, kind of a little bit darker. So that's kind of how they were going. Like it wasn't, my numbers just weren't like increasing a ton. This was taken, I think, June 1st or June 2nd. So again, positive line. It was just really weird. Oh, hi Busta. You know you're my big baby. Do you know you're my big baby? Do you know you're my big baby? Huh? This is my big baby right here. He'll be 3 in December. yeah, so they were getting like crazy darker. And May 31st was a Friday, and that was in the afternoon that happened, and I was just dying. So I called my doctor's office, and they had like closed early that day, of course, my OB office. And because of the loss before, my doctors and I had talked about it, like as soon as we get a positive test, to come in, and they would start, they would do a progesterone draw to check my levels and make sure they were okay. And then they would also do an HCG test, and then we would do a couple repeated HCG tests. Oh, he wants to play fetch so bad. We would do a couple repeated HCG draws to make sure that my levels were increasing. So I went on June 3rd and did a draw, and my numbers, hang on, I can tell you because I have it in my chart. All right, so June 3rd, the first blood draw, I was at a level 69 HCG, which was just like, phew. We had no idea if this pregnancy was from the couple weeks prior when I had my period, but you know, everything was normal and I had a negative test, or if this had like immediately, or if immediately after I had finished my period, if I had ovulated like way prematurely into this, you know, my May cycle. None of it made sense. My May-June cycle. None of it made sense. Sincerely, none of it made sense. So, I went back 2 days later on June 5th, and my level almost doubled. So it went from a 69 to a 132. That was like a 90% increase in HCG, and it needs to double every 48 to 72 hours. So it was within that window, totally fine. Went back on the 7th and had my blood drawn, and I went from a 132 to a 173. So in order for me to be on track for it to be properly doubling, I needed to have a 260 or above. I was not at 260. I'd only increased by 41 points. So that was the first sign that things were no bueno. So we did another blood draw on June 11th, and it came back at a 359. But it was 4 days later, so it took 4 days for it to double, so it was not good. Then June 18th, so a week later, I went from 359 to 756. So it took me a week to double that time. At this point, they're saying, you know, and on the 11th, what they had said was, this is likely an ectopic pregnancy. This is not a viable pregnancy. And you know, we were talking about it, and I said, can we wait to see if my body will resolve this naturally? Because they just kept saying DNC, 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 which is where they go in and they basically scrape out the inside of your uterus, clean you all out, biopsy it, make sure that the pregnancy genetic material is in there, that they got it out, and you're good to go. But if it's in a fallopian tube, scraping your uterus isn't going to do anything. So we waited a little bit, and my numbers did not go down. So I was with Dr. Lisa, our infertility specialist, by June 18th, and I said to her, I have faith in you. Whatever you want to do, that's what we're going to do, because you're in charge of my infertility health moving forward. So she said, we need to get you in here as soon as possible, because we can't keep letting these numbers rise the way that they are. They're not rising in a pattern that's compatible with life, so it's not a viable pregnancy. So that was really upsetting, but I trusted her. So we went in and we did a DNC, scrapey scrape. That was not fun. So they did a biopsy on the uterine scrapage, and they did not find the pregnancy. And I should also mention, at this point, I have had 2 internal ultrasounds. I had one at my OB office on June 13th. They checked my uterus, my fallopian tubes, and my ovaries, scanned everything, and they did not see the pregnancy at all. Then, on June 20th, I think it was? No. June 19th. So So the 18th I had that blood draw and they said your numbers are increasing, not good. On the 19th I went in and they were going to do the DNC. Scrapey. Before they did the DNC, they did another internal ultrasound and they could not find it anywhere. So I have 2 different facilities both telling me this is a pregnancy of unknown location. It's not in your uterus, it's not in your fallopian tubes, it's not in your ovaries, which I didn't even know an egg could fertilize in your ovaries and just like chill there. I also didn't know that a pregnancy of unknown location can occur, which to my knowledge means that it could just go wherever it wants. It could somehow have escaped into my abdominal cavity and just be floating around in there, killing me slowly from the inside. So that's basically kind of what happened. And during this time also we had traveled out of town for a family member's wedding, and this was before the DNC, I felt not good. I was really tired. I kept getting hot and cold chills and fever, like symptoms. I was really tired. I just did not feel good. And the bleeding for me had stopped, like June, let me see, I went in on the 3rd, maybe like the 6th or the 7th or something like that. My bleeding had stopped a long time ago. And it was only very minor bleeding. So it's not like I was bleeding, I didn't have anything going on. So basically, this pregnancy is just goodness knows where inside of my body. The doctors can't find it, and it's just making me feel really, really terrible. So at this point, I have faith in her. She's guiding me in the right direction. So we did the DMC. They checked out the uterine lining. They can't find the pregnancy in there. There's no genetic anything. So that was really discouraging. They did another blood draw the next day, so on the 20th, so June 20th, and my HCG numbers had actually increased. So on the 18th I was at 756, and on the 20th I was at 889. And that was after the DNC. That was a full day after the DNC. My numbers were still increasing. So that was great. And Dr. Lisa had called me and she said, you need to go over to the hospital right now and go into the OB triage area. They're going to be waiting for you. You need to get the methotrexate injection. So the methotrexate is a drug that was created for use for people for cancer, which is really great. So basically they were treating this ectopic / pregnancy of unknown location like an alien creature that was just dividing inside of my body and causing me harm. So all of these cells keep dividing, and the methotrexate, its job is to stop rapidly dividing cells. So at this point, they can't find where it is, and the only thing that they can do is stop the cells from continuing to divide. So I went to the hospital. They checked me on in. They gowned me up, which I thought I was just here for a shot. And they're like, oh no, we're gonna put a tag on you. We're gonna put you in a hospital gown. And, yeah, get you all hooked up. Let me see. I think I took a picture. I was like, oh, yeah, here. I said this to my husband because he was at work, and I was like, yeah, they, put me in a hospital gown real quick and, checked me in. So that was lovely. So they've got me there. The nurses keep coming in, and they have to keep you there for a little bit just to make sure you don't have a reaction. They have to make sure that you don't have any kind of reaction to the methotrexate. So, and they order it based on like your height and your weight and stuff. So they brought it up. The nurse gave me a shot in each of my booty cheeks. So that was great. And also my blood type is RH negative, not R negative. It's A negative, which is RH negative, which means I have to have a RhoGAM injection every single time we have any kind of pregnancy, because Eric's blood type is O positive. So our blood types are not really compatible, and my body can start to build up antibodies towards that, and then it would have an issue with like future pregnancies. Anyway, so every time I have to have a RhoGAM shot. So I had a RhoGAM shot, and then I had a methotrexate in each cheek. I was at the hospital for a couple of hours, and then after that I went home, slept for a little bit. I met up with some friends because we had plans to do something that night. I was like, I can do this, I can do this. So I went and hung out with them, and then I came home and I was so sick to my stomach that night. I just felt so terrible. And then for the next week, everything sounded really gross to eat. Like I just felt really sick to my stomach and I just felt really bad. My numbers had finally started to decrease and they have decreased ever since. I went for a blood draw earlier this week, so July 16th. Today is the 20th, and my numbers were at a 6, finally. And it has been almost a month since I had the Methotrexate shot. So that was I had the DNC on June 19th, and then I had the Methotrexate shot on June 20th. And today is July 20th. And a couple days ago, my HCG level was at a 6. So still not a 0. I've had so many blood draws for this, it's not even funny. I literally have had like 10 or 12 blood draws between the first part of June and now. I have another blood draw in a couple days to make sure that my HCG hits 0. Once it hits 0, we can start to move forward with our testing and all of this other stuff. One of the side effects because of the toxicity of the methotrexate is that we can't try anything for at least 3 months until it gets completely out of my system. So we are actively preventing. I haven't taken birth control in like a decade because I used the non-hormonal birth control prior to this, the Paragard, so I literally haven't taken birth control in like 10 years, so that's happening. Yeah, so it was a really unfortunate situation. I still really don't have answers, like, how did this even happen? Why? Why is my body hanging on to this totally non-viable pregnancy? It's just really frustrating for me to have to go through all of that. And again, there's no positive outcome. My body is just really bad at making humans. It just is, and we've just accepted this as part of our journey. It's fine. We were planning on doing IVF in the fall anyways, so it's like I said, it's just a step in our journey that direction, but it's just really frustrating. And of course, it did not feel good. None of that felt good, physically or emotionally. But yeah, so that's our story about our pregnancy of unknown location and kind of what that looked like for us. They literally could not find where this thing was in my body. So it's frustrating to feel like your body is working against you when, yeah. And then it just delays everything. It's just so defeating. So yeah. That's our story. That's our most recent update. Unfortunately, it's not happy news. The happy news is that we do have an infertility doctor now. We love her to pieces, and we think that she has some great plans for us to move forward and hopefully successfully grow our family. So anyway, I hope that helped you if you're kind of experiencing the same thing. Again, this is July 20th. This started May 31st. It's taken this long, and it's still not over again because I have another blood draw in a week. But yeah, hopefully it's resolved in just a couple of days and I'll be back to being my normal self again. Anyway, hope you guys are having a beautiful day as always. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. And again, if you haven't seen my prior 2 videos on our infertility journey, I would encourage you to go and check those out. Hit the subscribe button if you're going through the same thing. I kind of post a variety of videos here on my channel, like beauty related or stuff, whatever I want to talk about, or empties, or infertility journey. It's kind of a mishmash of things. But I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and hang out, and I hope to do some more updates in the future. Hope you're having a beautiful day as always. I will see you in my next video. Bye!